Hey guys, let's talk about immediate invoked function expression. What is it and why we need it? Firstly, I will try to explain the pollution idea. I just call it conflict, so it's going to be much more easier for me to explain. So assume that we have an file, HTML file, and this HTML files import two scripts. One of these is map and the other is keyboard. Inside the map, we have a variable x, and we just console log it, x from map. And inside here, we have x, and we assign something else, and this is from keyboard. So when JavaScript read this, it's going to in here and then in here. So when we save this and refresh, as you can see, it's x from map and x from y, because it's top to bottom, same idea. Now, when we try to say, okay, so what is the latest x value? If we type x in here, we will get y. Why? Because this is the last one that we import from here. You know, this is overriding here if it's same variable there is exist, it's going to override it, and this is the problem. So to fix this problem, JavaScript comes with the idea of the IIFE. I'll call it IIFE because it's really much more clear, easy for me to pronounce it. So let's got the problem fixed. This is the same, you know, we just import them, but in here, this is what we call the IIFE. Just let me explain this a bit. When JavaScript reads your code, when you say function, you know, this function keyword means something, and because of this means something, if you define like that, it's going to be normal function. And also with normal function, you have to give them a name if you declare with the function keyword. But the idea is that we have to trick the JavaScript that this is not just normal function, this is something else. And we put the operator, and the operator is like that. This means something in JavaScript. This means something. It means you can put expression in there, and when we do this, if we just do this, JavaScript when reads here, there is no function at the first place anymore. It's a parenthesis and it's operator. So this is why, you can put in here expression, and this is a function expression. You cannot put something like var equal x, var x equal x or something. This is not going to work. It's going to give you error. Okay, back to topic. So we put our function in here, and then after we immediately invoke it, we run our function. This is why it's called immediate invoke function expression. And the syntax is like that. You know, it's really easy when you think. At first it's complex, but it's really easy. You just put the parentheses and run your function without giving in any name, and then run it. You can also put this in here. Also, you can pass any argument that you want in there, and you have to put there. Okay, they don't have to be the same name. You can say you can say I, and 3i. Doesn't matter. The idea is like that, just normal functionality. So what we do here, we put our before code var x and this inside our function. Nothing else is going in here. And same in here. We put the same in here and we save them. Now, when I run, I still get the logs because it's immediately running. It's coming here and reads from map, and it's like this one, you see, and then it's come here again like this one. But if we type X in here, do you think we will get anything? No. Why? Because there's no X. Like, okay, we run it, but it's inside here. So what's the point if this is not going to work, you know? Let's explore another example, how we can make this useful. Now we are in our problem fixed better example, and it's same, and it's map, and it's keyboard. What we are doing here, when you first, if you're not familiar with the syntax, it seems really mess. But what we did is just like that. Variable, even you can do const and like that, and you open parentheses and you do function, your function. That's all. And then you run it. This is all. So what we're doing in here. The reason what we're doing this, because somehow we have to access what we're doing in here. And the way we access is this one. And what this one is give us when it's run, it's going to give us whatever we return in here. And we are returning an object which has X property on it. We can do this also, but just for much more easier, we can do this to be more clear. And we save, same idea in here, just we give the my keyboard with const. We can also give this const, it's not the problem. The idea is that we are going to get access this variables now in our application. When we save and when we refresh, you see the logs, and now when I say my map, now I get the object that I return from here. Even I say my keyboard, it's going to exist. So I say my map.x and my keyboard.x. Now we are not conflicting our application. We separate the logic, like we separate the x same, these are the same name. Normally it overrides conflict, but now it doesn't. We can have access to them, and this is how the libraries work. This is, just think this like you know, another library like Lodash or jQuery, whatever you can think. And this is the main idea, I would say. This is really important. We are going to cover some other concepts, but I'll say just don't forget this one. Let's move on. The other idea about the IIFE is that we can use the with the closure, and I will briefly explain what is closure so that you can understand it. It's really pretty straightforward. You can just understand it now if you don't know. It's just something that when we create a function in JavaScript, inside the function, the inner function is going to know what is like outside of it. If you say function, this is a function, and if you say another function, this is basically it, like the closure idea. This function is going to understand whatever in here, like var x or var y, var z. This function is always going to be able to access this one. Okay, this is the idea about the closure, and it's really powerful and it's really important for us to understand it. So that's why we are going to give an example in here. When we check the example, it's a function, and we define a variable, it's mouse, and then we return the function. We are returning the function. This is important because we say, okay, run best mouse. What is best mouse? It's a function. So when this function runs, it runs this, and then it returns this. It returned this, but it doesn't run this. We are not running it. It's just returning it. And it's a function, which means when you run this, this is going to be a function. Which function is this function? Because we are returning it. And this run mouse is going to be this function. So when we save this, what do you think we will get when we say run mouse? We said it's a function, right? So if I say run mouse, we should able to, okay, this is this function, as you can see. So what about if I run it? What do you think is this mouse is going to be? This is why we call this closure. And when we say run mouse, it is going to give us the exact same variable that we define in here. And this is the closure, what we call this function able to access this variable. I think this is clear, so we will just move. Let's examine this example. Don't get confused. It's really what we have learned until now. We said that this is a function IIFE, I mean immediate invoke function, and then we can do var whatever, and we can return something. And this is what we're doing in here. We are returning an object in here, not a something function or whatever. We are returning an object, and this object, it has property. Let's say it has a property, and this a property is a function. You can think like that. And then we give one more, maybe it's also a function. It's like that. The idea is like that. So this object, each properties mean functions. You know, this is a function, and this function will able to access whatever in here, XYZ, whatever in here. This will able to access this, and this also will able to access these variables. So this example is about it. And when we invoke and we are storing inside a variable, this logic. Let's remove this. What's happened when our code reads here, it's come here, and it is this variable, and this variable immediately running this function. What does this mean? If there is a console log, whatever, it's going to run this function first, then this one in the execution phase. So when it runs this function, it puts the result in this variable, and the result is this return. And what is this? It's an object. Just think it's simple. Let's think about this object property, which is this one, and it's a function, and it's trying to access the mouse variable. If there is no variable in here mouse, it would be undefined, because this is going to see this. So when we say this, actually let me show you save, and this is our application. We refresh. We are trying to get a smart mouse. When you get it, this is an object, as you can see, and this object has two properties, just like you saw. Now when I say smart mouse dot get mouse name, I run it because it's a function, you know, this is a function, and we run it, what we will get is the mouse, because we can't select the mouse, and the mouse variable is actually a mouse. Don't get confused. If you do like this, we are going to get like that, and we are try to get this and refresh. You see, we are getting this one, this string. This variable is this string. Now, the good thing about this idea, when right now we have no access this mouse variable, but somehow with this idea we are able to change this. What I mean, when I say a function, a property which has this function, and I pass a variable, an argument, and with this argument I override this mouse. And this mouse is this one. We are overriding it with whatever we want, and we console log, we update it. Let's update it. We save, we refresh. What was our mouse in this log? It was this one. And then we update it, which means if I say smart mouse dot get mouse name, it is going to be updated one, because we put this string in here. It overrided and now it's updated. This is important to understand because we cannot do something like this, you know, this is not possible, or any other way that you think. There is no way to access this except via these functions. And many libraries ideas work like this concept. Let's move. The third idea about IIFE is that we can use with the synchronous request that we can do, or asynchronous functions that we run. But first of all, we have to understand a few simple things to understand the examples better. First of all, this for loop and this for loop are different. They are not same. I mean, it seems same, but this let and this var makes difference. What is difference? The let and const are block scoped and the var is function scoped. We're not going to deep in this concept because it's not related with this video, but you have to understand a bit about this to understand how it's going to work with the IIFE. So when we say if true, which is true always, it's going to run in here, and if we say var y, and this var y is going to be accessible in the global. What I mean, if I just comment this and comment all of this and save, we refresh, we are going to get y. And we getting it because var is function scope, and since this is on the global, we able to access y variable. When it's come for the let, when we try to refresh, we are going to get an error, reference error. Why? Because let is block scope, and this parentheses, curly braces, are blocked in the JavaScript. And this let x, there's no way to access this outside of this curly braces. If you move this up, we are going to able to access it because it is inside this curly braces. I think this is understandable. Let's go to examples. When you see an example like this, you think that they are really similar, like they are exactly the same. but in reality they are not same. I mean, they can make difference. First of all, this set timeout is a synchronous function. And what does it mean? This code is not going to run immediately. This is what it means. And this code is same. This is why we put 1000. It's 1 second. This code is going to run after 1 second. Let's run this code at first. We save, we refresh, and we get 3 times log 3 after 1 second. We are not getting 0, 1, 2. To solve this problem in easiest way before ES6, I mean after ES6 come, it's to put let keyword. With this, just because let keyword is black scope, it is going to solve this problem. So when I do this, after 1 second, it's going to log 0, 1, 2. Why is that? Why is it like this? Let's check the other example and try to understand better this one, the logic behind it. We are going to solve this problem with IIFE. Our code was like this, and we move it to here. Let's talk about the set timeout. When JavaScript sees this function, what it does, it puts this into a box, and this box called event queue. We're not going to, I'm not trying to confuse you, but what you should understand in here, this code is not running immediately. It's running after 1 second, which means this code is going to inside a box and it sit there. It sit there, literally like that. It sit there and it waits for the 1 second. And this code is keep going while this code is waiting in the box. So this code, entire code is in the box. How we can solve this problem? We said that var keyword is a functional scope. So when it runs this, it's go in the box and it keeps going, and it's come 2, and then it comes 3. When it comes 3, okay, I is 3, and is this logic is true? No. So I remain 3. Just because this false, JavaScript, omit to run again because this condition doesn't true in order to run this code. Just because this is not true, I is going to be state 3. After 1 second, when this function comes and asking for I, he's like, okay, what is I? What is I? And it checks outside. And when it sees outside, oh yeah, I see it's 3, and it's take the 3. That's all. This is why it's happening. And we can solve this by IIFE. Remember, our IIFE is like this. This is our IIFE function. If we come here and put this in here, we moved this logic in IIFE, and somehow this IIFE needs to know about this variable. And of course we are going to move this in here, but just make it understand that first I put here. So this I we can pass with in here. So we pass I, and this function now able to access I. What I mean, by the way, to make it much more easier, like for you, we can say this X, and let's move this in here. So this var I is we are passing into the IIFE function, and it gets it by this X. This X is an I. And the difference is now this x lives in here. This is really important. This x literally live in here, and this x is going to be whatever you pass. There is no way you change this. If you pass 0, it's going to be 0. If you pass 1, it's going to be pass. So when this function, after 1 second in the box, he was in box, when it's try to access, oh, what is x? What is my x? He's asking, and okay, I don't have in here. So I'm going to check outside. Oh, he said outside. Oh, I see there is an x. And what is x? And that x is going to be whatever you pass, because you are immediately running this code. You know, you immediately running this code. Just because you immediately running this code, this I is going to live in here. So whatever I is in, like when you loop, it's going to be in here. And this is why you can access 0, 1, 2. If we run this code, we save and we refresh, you see after 1 second we get 0, 1, 2. It wasn't like this before, remember? It wasn't like that. If I refresh, it was 3, 0, 1, like this. It was 3. By the way, if you put this even 0, let's uncomment this, what do you think you will get? You still get 3. Why? Because this doesn't change the logic. Still, this code is going to move that box that we say. Even if you put 0 seconds, it is going to move into that invisible box, and it's going to sit in there until this for loop and other codes that you have in your code to finish. This is how it's work. Now we understand how we can handle this problem. Let's see the similar problem with this example. In this example, we have an array, and we still have a for loop with the var keyword. Remember, this is important. And we just push the function inside that array. So each loop, when we do, a new function is going to be stored inside this array, because we're pushing this function pushing inside this array. And this function, as you can see, it's trying to access the I variable. So when we try to access like this, because this is an array and we access a 0 index and we try to invoke it. It's a function, we try to invoke it. What do you think we will get? Just with example, try to pause and think. Let's refresh and see what we will get. So this is our array, and it has 3 functions that we saved, and each of these functions I variable is going to be 3, it says. Why? Because, well, this is pushing this function is pushing inside the array, and it's not running it's just in there. So when this loop is finished, you might say, okay, we pass I, you know, but no, like we doesn't run. If we would run I in here, yes, it would be 0 or something, whatever it is. But we're not running it, we're just storing that inside here. And since this loop is finished, when it's finished, the variable I is going to be 3, because it's last condition that it's checked. It's like, okay, 3 is less than 3. No, it's not. So it's return false and it's move on. So then we try to access, we invoke. When we invoke this, don't think like it's in here. It's it's in here. Okay, just like think a function that lives in here 3 times, like this, 3 function, 1 2 3, and you say, okay, console log I, what is I? And this function says, okay, I don't have any I inside myself, so I'll check outside. It checks outside, which is global, and it says, oh, there is an I, and it is 3 because after here var is 3. Now var I is 3 now. So we're running in here our code, we try to access, and since we try to access, it requires I, and it checks, oh, it's 3, and then it's like 3 like that. And we can solve this problem also with the IIFE. Think about this code. We have var x and 0 through this and this. When you think about this, you say, okay, what is difference? It's just same like this. We just looping over the array with the index, and we invoke the function, whatever inside. If we run, we still get the same. But what if I change this to I? If you by mistake do this, and if you don't know what's happening behind the scene actually, you might get really confused. If I save, now our I is 3, was in here was 3. Now we are saying we have a variable I and we assign it to 0. And this 0 is going to run in here. So we say, give me 0 index, but the key is in here, not about the index. The key is that this variable is I, name is I. So this function also try to get access I. So when this function try to get the I, it's asking the global. What is, when this invoked, what is I? It says, okay, I is now is 0. This is why we are going to get 0, 1, 2. If we save, if we run, we get 0, 1, 2. Why? Because, now var is 0. When it goes 0, it's come here, it's asked for var I, and it's check outside, and it's see, oh, it's 0. This is why it's print 0. When it's loop to 1, var is 1. So this try to be 1, but inside it we have console.log I, and this I comes check, oh, I see there is a var which is 1. Right now it's 1. This is why we get 0, 1, 2, and this is important. Let's move on. When you inspect this example, you will see that it's really similar to above. What we do is just we just make a function, and we copy our code. We store our array just like above, but we return that array so that we can access it. And we are running our function. We store that result inside this variable. So this variable basically is this array, just like above. But this is inside a function, as you can see. Okay, what's happening here? When we loop our functions, what do you think we will get? Just focus on here and try to guess what is this function console I is going to refer when it's asking for the I. It's just the same if you notice. There's nothing different in here. If there's nothing different, why we cover this example? It's going to make sense in the other example. When we save this and when we run, we are going to get 3. Why? Because each time when we try to access I, var I it's passing I and it's ask I in here. Remember, when we do this, it was 0, 1, 2, but in here, even though we give I, it doesn't give us 0, 1, 2. Remember the above, when we did, it was 0, 1, 2, but in here we get 3 times 3. Why? Because when we ask our console.log I, it's inside this function. It's not in global. This var I is in global scope. And this var I is inside this function scope. So literally, when this over a var, a variable I lives with value 3 inside our function inside our function, let's say this, inside this function. So when this function asking, okay, what is log I, what is I, it's going to up, and you see, oh, there is I, and this I is 3 because it is what it's been in here when this for loop is over. It has nothing to do with this. If we put X, it doesn't going to change because it's, you know, X. It doesn't make sense, but just to make it clear, doesn't make sense. It's just same. Let's see how we can handle this problem with the IIFE. I moved exactly the same example into here so that we can work on it, but we have to think how we can solve this problem with the IIFE. If I ask you, well, you'll say, okay, the key thing is that when we push this function, it's somehow we have to let this function to know this exactly variable I when it's run, when it's execute, right? So let's think like that. If you put an IIFE function, you know, like this, and you run it, you can pass arguments. We say, if I say arg1, and if I say arg1 whatever function in here, this function will able to access any var in here, just like we learned above. And this is what we can do in here. Like literally we can do, let's remove this at first so that you really don't confuse. We are going to put a function, an IIFE function immediate invoked. We are going to immediately invoke this function. So I'll put I, this I is from here, and I pull X in here to make it clear. So this X is going to live in here, and the key is that it's going to return that function that we want to run. Why we return when you think it? Because this function is immediately going to run. So in order we run, we have to, at the end, we want to store the function in here. So if we want to store a function, we have to return from here so that it can push this result, this return, because when this function is run, it's going to return this one, this function. And we want this function to be in here. This is why we are returning it. And you know, this X will live in here. Whenever this, we have to put this X. You can, if you confuse, you can I, you can put I, but I think with XX, it's really going to let you understand really good. And this is immediate invoke function expression. When we save, we saved, I don't know, maybe we made some mistakes, why it's not prettier. Because of this. Okay, we have to remove this, because when I save, the prettier is running automatically. So when we saved, we try to run, so we get 0, 1, 2. Why? Because we're running this function when it's looping immediate invoke function expression. This is why it's called. It's run this, it's return this function, and this function able to ask inside this function scope, this X. This X, this function is going to always remember, even if it's in here, you know, it's living here, but this function scope variables, this function always going to remember it. This is why when we say, hey, run this from your index 1, 2, 3 and print them, invoke them, invoke the function, we are invoking this function, and this function asks this, and it gets. The idea is that we pass I into that immediate invoke function expression. And this is how we are able to accomplish what we think that is going to be result. Okay guys, this is all about immediate invoke function expression. I hope this was helpful. If you think it's helpful, please don't forget to like and support the channel, and thank you for having me. Have a good day.